everybody, I'm John Everett with the Resell Unlimited LLC, and this is Everything But Dust, where we collect everything but dust. Today we're going to talk about something that has really kind of exploded in the collecting and resale market, and that is the misguided belief that some of the actual sell prices that people are seeing on collectibles and eBay are true. There's been a big increase in a lot of the cases where you'll see an item and it'll show that it's sold for $10,000 and people get excited, so they go list it for $10,000. Now it's not a new problem, and I don't see it as possibly being a problem that eBay can really address. In my opinion, I don't see anything really against their policy per se. Perhaps there is, and maybe they're looking into it. Today we're going to use Beanie Babies as a prime example, and first of all, let me say this, guys. I'm talking about this because I fell victim to this. Used to be that the problem with using eBay as a price guide, which I firmly believe in, is a lot of people didn't at that time know about being able to see what it sold for. So anybody that's been to yard sales, especially my fellow resellers, will know. You go to a yard sale, and used to, people would say, well, hey, it's worth this much on eBay. Even some of the thrift stores I won't name have taken to printing up a picture showing what they're being sold for. Okay, and quickly people learn that what they're being sold for and what they actually sold for, two different things. Now again, I'm a firm believer that eBay is probably the best means of finding out the value of an item. A friend of mine who got me started in eBay once described it as the real-time living, breathing price guide. And here's why I believe it. That's because generally what you see that average price going for, and they give you the prices over 3 months, that is going to be the lowest you can expect to get for it. So anything above that's possible. Not too far above it, depends on what the item is. Any item is only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. But eBay generally is where you're going to find the best prices on certain collectibles. So if you see a price of, say $50, and that's the lowest price it's sold for, chances are you can get more, say at Etsy or Amazon or what have you. Okay, so that's a good thing to remember. Now, with that said, this new trend, and I'm not picking on eBay, but a lot of scams and tricks and things like that, they seem to be tested in the eBay market before they're launched on a wide scale. And many resellers can relate to what I'm talking about. So the first thing I ever saw was a situation where people were selling Cheetos, little Cheetos, that were shaped kind of weird. And I'm seeing sell prices for $5,000, $8,000, $10,000. And this first was brought to my attention by none other than Matt Lauer on the Today Show, where somebody had found a Cheeto for, it was around the time that there was, I don't know if anybody recalls, there was a gorilla that was shot and killed because a kid had fallen into the pit at the zoo. There was a lot of outpouring of sympathy for the gorilla. Obviously, it wasn't his fault. But around that time, somebody found a Cheeto that seemed to be shaped like that gorilla, and for whatever reason was able to sell it for $7,000 or $8,000. So this made Today's Show's morning show. And now the other thing on this is, let me say this, is they forgot to report that at the time the seller had not been paid yet. That's the first step on it. In auctions on eBay, you don't have to have your payment ready to go right away. So if you win an auction, you have 48 hours to pay, and a lot of times nobody pays. Okay, so that's the first point. On a news story like that, they might not be telling you the whole story. Okay, now the second part of that is, what if you see where on the sold pages it shows it sold for $10,000? Great question, and that's where I slipped up. If you'll go a little bit further and click on that item that is sold, what you'll find is a lot of times it will say, seller has relisted this item or selling a similar item. Okay, go in and see if that is the case. You're selling the same item. What that tells you is they never got the money. It never got paid. Possibly it did, and they shipped it out. It got returned. but for whatever reason, that transaction was canceled. Okay, eBay is still going to show the sold record on there. It doesn't mean that that money's in hand. Okay, so if you do a little bit of research, you'll see that that's been the case. Now, another thing that we've noticed, and this happened of February this year, this is how I learned, is I came across in my sourcing the McDonald's Beanie Babies. All right, don't know anything about Beanie Babies. I know that my late mother, she thought she was going to retire on them. Bless her heart. Of course, the bubble exploded. So I came across these and thought, well, they're probably not worth much. I'll take a look. And there's a lot of people selling them on eBay for, $8,000. And I thought, wow, but let me check the sold prices. This was March. I look in February and there's, $7,000, $10,000. I'm thinking, wow, no way. So, got this thing listed, $99 starting bid, which, by the way, I have not sold it yet. And the reason being is, according to everything I read on it, is on the tag, had on the what they call tush tag, so on the tush, it had a different date than the tag that it comes to. And I think this is third generation. But that's not uncommon. Okay, in fact, that's normal. So for all of those that think, well, wait, it says 97 on the tag, says 98 on the fold tag, it doesn't mean anything. Really, it doesn't mean anything. Okay, so guys, if you think that's the error, it's not an error, I hate to tell you. Now, I haven't really found anything that speaks to this, but what I have found is collectively all the experts say there's not a whole heck of a lot of value in the McDonald's particular edition based on the errors that they're talking about. Okay, unless they have a unique error that you don't see many of, maybe missing the flag, maybe they're misnamed. And listen, there's a lot of resources online that will talk about this, the Beanie Baby experts, okay? And they're the ones you want to listen to, okay? So one of the things that they stated was the problem, and I haven't verified that this is not legitimate, is the manufacturing company, Thai, who makes these, they are based out of a city called Oak Brook in Illinois, okay? Now, on the tag, Oak Brook will be one word, Oak Brook. Then on the flip-out tag, it's two words, Oak and Brook. So they speak to that as being an error. And again, I haven't found anything on this, but I do know that's very common on eBay. They all say that. And I do know I don't see a lot of these selling, not for a lot of money. If you have the full set, you do a little bit better, okay? I hate to disappoint anybody, and hey, if you are disappointed, I was disappointed as well, okay? This is Glory. Glory was released, in 1998 is the birth date. Again, it says July the 4th, 1998, followed by a poem. On the tag, it will say 1997. Again, there's a lot of people out there that are selling this as being rare, and you'll notice there hasn't been a lot of sales as of recently. There was about 4 or 5 sales in February for about $10,000, $7,000, and in researching some of them, there was no, relist. So I thought, well, that's strange. Here's a trick. It was the same seller, okay, or the same buyer. So what does that tell us? That tells us that perhaps to inflate the market, somebody was working with somebody else to do a trade-off. I don't see where I would give somebody $10,000 just to boost the market, but hey, who knows? Or it could be legitimate. And you're probably thinking, well, if it's legitimate, what do we do? You're telling us not to work. Meaning that maybe somewhere there was a millionaire who was having one too many drinks, had his girlfriend over, and he just bought them, okay? I mean, and that could happen with any item. So, hey, if you want to list everything you have for $10,000, you may get lucky, and there's a drunk millionaire out there. So, yeah, there's going to be those times. But now what you need to pay attention to is how many people are listing an item for $10,000, okay? How many people are listing the item for a more reasonable price? That's the first thing you look for, okay? Second part is you want to look at the solds and see how many sales have happened within the last 2 months for an astronomical amount. If you see any, you want to look and see, what was it that made it different? Who sold it? Okay, and here's the other crucial part. I'm a big supporter of new eBay sellers. In fact, I like to buy from them because you get a good deal normally when they're new, and eBay's going to back them. Okay, so if they don't hold true to their agreement, eBay's got you covered. So there's no reason to be scared of new eBay sellers, and they really need all the help they can to get their rankings boosted. That's why you get a lot of good deals. But there is one area where you want to pay attention to the number of sales, okay? When you see somebody that has sold an item for $10,000, look at their stars. You know, how long have they been around? How many reviews do they have? What kind of history do they have with eBay? And there's a lot of scams out there. There's a site where you can buy a pre-assembled username at eBay. It's already got the reviews, it's got everything, and people use that quite frequently, pay good money for it when they've been suspended under their username. So there's a lot of scams out there, guys, not just with eBay, but with other places. So before you go listing your Beanie Baby and quitting your job, stop, think, and do the research, because, you know, like our parents always said, if it's too good to be true, it probably is, okay? In my case, it was a little bit of embarrassment because, you know, well, a lot of people know my brand. So when John goes selling a Beanie Baby for a lot of money, yeah, you know. But hey, you live and learn. So I wanted to share that knowledge with you. I hope I didn't put a damper on anybody's dreams of retiring early, but just want to make sure everybody's aware and not spinning their wheels so they can be out there finding the real potential treasures. Have a great day and happy collecting.